Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience Psych and Hip Hop. Today's episode is Double Trouble. Well, maybe it's even triple trouble, but you have double the hosts. Joining me as host this time is my gal pal, my dear friend Tanisha Lewis, who you also might know by her stage name, Ebony Stone. And we're interviewing Genuwine Beauty, somewhat controversial trans hip hop artist and performer and anime artists and performers. So we have a very, very interesting episode today and a different format. So hope you can check it out and, stay open-minded. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience Psych and Hip Hop. And today is a special format, special guest, special collaborating co-host. First, I guess I should share the floor with my lovely co-host, Tanisha Lewis, also known by her stage name as Ebony Stone. Hey
Hi,
there.
hi, hi. How are
And
you,
our
beautiful?
our guest today has beauty in her name, Genuine Beauty,
Yeah,
coming to us
yeah.
from New York, by now way of New York. And we are going to get right into it, right? We're going to get right into it.
Of course. Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So, Yaya, is that because you're a Yaya?
Well, Yaya has different personalities. Well, my nickname is Yaya, and then of course my fans is called Yaya Clan. So yeah,
So, what is it? Is it sage? Is it crystals? What is it?
my government name is Kenyatta, so it has Yaya in it.
Oh,
Kenyatta, get it?
oh,
Tanisha thought it
okay.
Yaya.
was like,
I
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
witchy, yeah,
Yeah, I thought.
yeah.
Oh, you see what I'm talking about, Johnny? All right. So they call witches Yaya too. But
Yeah. That's my other alter ego. That's I guess that, as they say, the seductress part.
well, it's it's almost gosh, I'm gonna wait.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna
let
wait.
me start. Let's start out with talking about let's talk about Genuine Beauty's current projects and some of the things you're excited about, because I know you just said you came back from Comic-Con. Cosplay is a big part of your life, and I would love to just hear a little bit, because you have a really unique sound. You have a whole genre, anime rap. We were like trying to even figure out, fully understand all about that. And then of course there are the sound bites that everyone loves to have BuzzFeed about in terms of the labels, being someone who is a little bit unconventional, let's say, in how they represent and how they show up. And not everyone was as understanding and supportive. So I want to talk about what you're doing right now, what you're excited about, and then we'll take a pause. Do you mind sharing
Yeah,
a little?
sure. Um, so hi, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, and everybody, aliens are welcome because everybody is accepted. It's 2020, almost 2025. My name is Genuine Beauty. I am a cosplayer, rapper. Uh, I work behind the scenes. I wear too many hats. Like I'm a woman of power, and so who I started doing anime rap during the pandemic, but all my lyrics has a little bit of gamer bars and anime bars, so it's always been there. And rebranding myself constantly, trying to find ways, the avenue, this, that, and the third, listen to different advices, and then something just told me, it was like, you know what, you're getting older, you just need to beat yourself even further. So that's how the anime rap came apart. And I noticed, a lot of hood people are familiar with the common, Dragon Ball Z, Goku,
Mhm.
Pokemon, and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, it could work. So I took 2 years off, created my own subgenre under anime rap called May. So what May genre is
Mm.
basically the song, whatever the song title or the beat selection, is like a urban version of that song or cartoon or anime. So that's how I do it. If anybody familiar in the cosplay community, King
Oh.
Vader, who's also partnered with Netflix. He also has his own what is it? I think station under Netflix. So he does a lot of hood parodies of anime. So basically, it would be
Mm.
hood anime music. But I'm having fun with it. I'm definitely having fun with it, especially coming from New York Comic Con. Did Resident Evil cosplay of Jill Valentine. Um, just this is exciting because it's like I'm connected with fellow blurred community, nerd community people, and it's just like I've always been one of those people who's always been out the box anyway because of who I am. Like that's how society labels me. I really don't care, which is cool. I don't care. Look at me as the invisible person. Boo, I'm a ghost. But just finding for people who authentically love and understand the culture, like anime to me is like anime has taught me how to love, how to cry, how to keep going in
Mhm.
life. Never give up on your dreams. Never, how to be a friend. A lot of things is a lot of deep messages in those little Japanese cartoons, as people call it. But to me, it's livelihood to me. So that's why I've been going so hard with the anime lately. And then plus me also working behind the scenes. Shout out to my boss, Life of Morris from Scott. More bookings. We also, you know, um, I was telling people like anime rap is gonna be on the rise. Everybody, at where we're at right now, anime is in that golden age era right now. You can see all the celebrities doing from Usher to Chris Brown. Um, I remember growing up like back in the early 2000s when I was going to high school. I used to get picked on. Now everybody and their mama likes anime. It was just weird to me. But it's been there and it's like, but it's very cultural. It's been very cultural.
There's a lot to unpack there. I think for the people who might be listening, I'm hoping that we're going to expose some people who are not aware of your history and background to why it's such an interesting intersection around what you've learned from anime and what your experiences were, considering you had a bit of a rough go when you were coming up. People
Yeah,
didn't understand. Like you said, it's 2024 now. We have a lot more awareness and support for trans rights, for the gay community, and again, not to be used simultaneously,
okay.
because there's a little bit there we could talk about too in terms of who gets put in what group and who's okay with what. But what stereotypically happens, I mean, both of you come from the music industry, both, Tanisha and you, and, coming, both have a lot of stories, I'm sure. And with everything that's in the mainstream news now, it's really, really important. I think we talked about before we recorded, right? I was wondering if we could talk about your advice and guidance for young people who are coming up and maybe their version of themselves that is most genuine, most true, has to do with their gender expression. Maybe it's their religion. Maybe it's just the way they want to dress. How everyone went crazy because Will Smith's son wore a skirt or something, like, the little things we fixate on as culture because someone's doing something outside of what we think is this little box of what we're supposed to be. And I think the fact that you're so confident and so much perseverance is really important to talk about how you push through to stay true to yourself, to not let other people's labels or opinions of you direct you or derail you in what you're trying to achieve.
Um, that's well, it's the little saying called play devil's advocate. I'm an ex-military kid. You know,
Mm.
I was one of those individuals. Is like, yeah, you're entitled to speak your mind, which is fine. But I transition for me is for not to be accepted by the world, but to accept myself.
Mm.
That's the more important thing because I remember back in the days, like it was not too many trans individuals, but now I just feel like with the trans community, it's been a popularity contest situation, and like, because it's been commercialized, it's a new market. I get it, but advice for individuals who are authentically trans: just take one step at a time. Transitioning, everything is going to transition from your past, people that you have dated, family and friends. I have lost family and friends. Um, you have to being trans, you have to be strong minded, willpower and heart, because in a sense you're living your truth 24/7. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't know that we're also are LGBT revolutionary people who actually help people get their LGBT right. You know what I'm saying? We're considered the mother figures in the LGBT community. Like, a lot of the LGBT youth comes to us as a motherly figure and stuff like that, because in that sense, a lot of the people, parents, people don't understand them or whatever case may be. But to me, I just feel like if that's your child, at the end of the day, you should love them unconditionally, regardless. Um, that's a breath of you, even though they're different. You should still keep them with open arms. You know, that's the most important safety reason with us trans. It's not it's to be accepted and be in a safe space. It's not saying that we're mimicking the at birth, whether if it's a trans man, which is a female going into male, or us trans women, which is male going into female. We know who we are at the birth. You don't have to keep reminding us. We just, what it is just we just want to be us, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but people are entitled to express their opinions. And a natural protagonist, me, I like to be petty and speak people in third person. When they misgender me, I'm like, okay, and I say this B word or this young gorgeous lady, and I let them know that, hey, it doesn't faze me, because I deal with this every day. So in a
Yeah.
sense, in the music industry, when people do that, or when people decide to clock T, which is cool, until they realize who I am and the type
Mm.
of power I have in the music industry.
Wait. Let us know what clock T is for the people in the back that don't know.
Oh, so the word clock T is outing a person.
Right.
Basically letting people know that, hey, that's not a biological individual, or
Right.
situation, stuff like that. Um, I don't get me wrong, that's annoying. I hate that.
It's
Me, personal opinion, who people who do that, I feel like they're uncomfortable with themselves, the individual, or they're
mm,
still battling with themselves, which is a big mental issue, in my opinion, because people only learn what they're comfortable as, like, or what they see. You know what I'm saying? Teachings, world been teach since the day we come out the womb. You know,
right.
Right, right.
we was taught how to eat, how to sleep, et cetera, et cetera. I just wish sometimes parents give let kids be kids, or just give them a free will to think, and instead of just
hmm
telling them, because in their sense,
Telling them how
This
to
is
do.
right, this is wrong, this is what
yeah,
boys do, this is what girls do,
right. Because
right? This is what it
what
looks like,
definition of that? Because
this is
all we
okay.
saying, right, you know,
I, Genuine. I have a question for you, sweetie.
that's
At what point did you know, like, at what point did you feel like, you know what, I'm different, and you knew it?
myself in the beginning. Like, I was different at 3, and then it
Okay.
really started like maybe like 16, that I knew I was a different type of woman. So,
Yeah.
but
Hybrid woman. Yes.
me being
Did
in
you?
the streets, from being a gang member to being in the military, for so I was secretly taking hormones without my parents, knowing, of course, but
Yeah.
living this hardcore lifestyle.
But let's pause there, so when you say, "I was secretly taking hormones without my parents knowing," I just wanna, like, pause there for a moment because you're very stoic, you're very brave, you're very like, this is what it is, which is amazing.
Thank
But
you.
like, really, what it must be like to be a minor. Like, you're like, oh, and I was just, in the streets and get like the epitome of stereotypical be hard, be a man. Like, you were coming from a world, we're talking late 80s, early 90s, right? Like, where, like, let's put us in time and get a real flavor
Yeah.
for like how you had to navigate psychologically
Well,
what
psychologically, it was a mix in between because my dad was from Jersey. I mean, my parents. I was born in Jersey, so I was always an original North kid. But I was raised down south
Mhm.
in Virginia, down south. But I don't know. It's just on top of that, it just felt like mixed crowds and stuff like that. It was behind my upbringing. So my mom was kind of technically a single parent, even though they was married. But him being military, so and I was barely raised with my mom as well because she was a RN. So I was raised by different babysitters from different cultures. So it also affected me as well
Mm.
too. That's why I pertained it more to the streets with friends because I felt like they understand me and stuff like that. So, you know,
that leads to Tanisha and I were talking about before we recorded about support, right? Tanisha, we were
I
saying.
swear that was that's I swear that's what I was
So
gonna
I don't want to steal. We both had that question in terms of because people talk about, you know, biological parents, grandparents, people, guardians, whoever raises you, the street, your friends, strangers,
Mhm.
whatever. But like, so you had two parents, like you said, but your dad was in the military working a lot. Mom
yeah,
was
he
a
was
nurse
my
working a lot.
stepfather. So it was my
And
stepfather. It was married
Oh.
at, yeah, it was married at two. So, oh my God, I can go down a rabbit hole. That's a different story with my real.
I just meant like, so who was your like, who were your confidants? Because you said you were taking
My
hormones in
friends,
secret.
honestly, like even though basically when I was at age of 12, I found out that my stepfather wasn't my real father. So it, you know,
Ah.
started
Yeah.
my rebellious
Okay.
situation.
How did you even did you ask like your friends that were like 18? How did you get the hormones? Did they,
Well,
without your
at the
parents'
home,
permission?
well, the thing is, being in a house full of women, the birth
Yeah.
control pills. A lot of the old school ways was taking birth control pills.
Ah.
Of hormone because it still has a format of estrogen hormones in birth control. So that's how I was taking.
You're a genius. No, who told you to do that?
Listen to the
Nobody.
old school girls, honey. Listening to the old school girls. Oh, back in the days, early 2000s. Because at the time, trans care wasn't accessible how it was
Yeah.
now. Um, a lot of the old school girls was doing illegal, hormone uses such as like
Mm.
pills, buying medication overseas from Mexico because certain states didn't know what trans care or at the time, they thought it was a mental health situation. So they wasn't really providing that unless you
Right. They're
had
trying to they're trying to
a
do like
court.
conversion therapy
Yeah, a
basically
court.
Try, yeah.
to talk you out of it. Um and so these things are going on and you're taking hormones, young, but you had an interesting journey because you're also a parent,
Yes,
right?
yes, I have
And
a daughter.
so I think it's really cool. Like, would you be willing to talk about that
Yeah,
part too
sure.
of your life?
Yeah, sure. So my
Because
daughter
again,
had
it's like people don't I think people
right,
don't get
right. So my daughter has always known as this Genuwine Beauty, aka Kenyatta. It wasn't never to a point. It was I was living. wasn't living my truth at one point in time in transition. She has always known me as this. Um,
Oh,
I transitioned when she was in the womb. That's the difference.
okay,
So when she
okay.
came out, I was, in my
So does
feelings.
she say she has two mommies? Cause she don't look at you as
It's
that. Your
honestly
mommy.
speaking, it's been a battle. Between me and her second mother. At the time, this is how the birth of the stud format of transgender came. So
Oh,
when my child's mother found out that, she always knew that I was trans attracted. Mind you, I date trans female and cisgender female or at birth females because I know a lot of people don't like the word cisgender. So I'm gonna be clear. Um,
I don't even care. I'll be like, whatever.
females as well. But she knew that I was trans attracted back in the day. She never knew that I wanted to become one. That's what the issue.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, her family, her mother was a pastor, religious
Uh-oh.
purposes, being down south, et cetera, et cetera. And it clashed head. And I was just telling my child's mother, hey, I'm just being me. I'm not trying to replace your motherly ways
You.
or
Yeah.
anything. And I felt like she felt like that because two, one, we really technically never broke up because we was living together, but what the house didn't pass house inspection, so we had to go back to our parents' houses. And I just felt like she was trying to mold me to be an individual what she wanted to see fit, and then instead of what I still wanted to see fit at the time. At the time, she would tell my daughter, coach my daughter, "Hey, this is your father figure," but in actuality, I was telling mine on my end. When I had her, when she was visiting with me and my mother, her grandmother, I was telling her, I told her what it was. I was like, look, listen, you have two moms. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And their defense was like, "Oh, well, she's young. She don't need to know that, et cetera, et cetera." I was like, granted, but me being in relationships with women who had, children around that age at the time, they understood. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, it's like children are smart.
Yeah, they are.
You know what I'm saying? And it was one time that my daughter slipped up and called me mom. Yeah, mommy. So in a sense, she understands.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just that
Yeah.
I don't like parents who coach to teach them because what you see fit in your religious purpose or whatever your upbringing. I feel like parenting is supposed to be an evolution for what you learn for and from your environmental, from your parents and what you learned in school, and of course your upbringing also includes what your friends is too. A lot of people don't know that
Mhm.
because that's your social life. Your social life is very important.
Your
Trust
friends.
me.
Mhm.
Um, I just feel like that was the issue. So we used to keep back and forth. I didn't really keep in contact with my child's mother because I'm an individual. I don't like arguing in front of the children because that does
Mhm.
a mental thing too to them too, seeing parents because they're young. They don't know what's going on.
It's going
It's
on,
like,
right.
okay, why are my parents fighting? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
to be the bigger person, I just let her do what she want. But always still kept tabs on my daughter from my grandmother until recently, maybe 2 years ago. She's 10 now, which I've been
Mhm.
living my truth for the last 10 years as
Yeah.
well. They
No,
just
but
up the move. They
that's a
just up the
really
move and went to Atlanta. I was like, wait, what?
Without your
So, cause she's
permission?
married now, and it's other 6 kids, and the kids be picking on her, and I remember her first son when he was
Yeah.
little. I was there, and they be teasing my daughter, like, oh, your dad's a girl and stuff like that, and I be telling her, I'm like, listen, you have two moms. Screw what everybody think. Whatever you decide to call me, cool. I get it. But I told my daughter, I was like, don't let nobody teach you what you feel was right and hard.
Right.
Because in a sense, you're not being genuine to yourself.
To yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
and thank
told
you
her
for
that.
going there. I know it's vulnerable and rough, but
No,
I
no, no,
think,
no, no.
and again, you're saying it so directly without, breaking in your voice, without getting upset, but like it's a lot of betrayal and anger and hurt and ostracizing wielded at you, and now your blood and confusion. And like you said, I mean, it doesn't have to be confusing. There are many parents, trans, gay, those who just are cross-dressing, whatever you want to call it, where you
Right,
might say, that isn't fitting in this little box of our two checkbox kind of life. And
right.
people encourage that from early on. But when it's not, you're sort of you're on the outside of it. And like you said, and then you don't want your daughter to be dealing with that, because then they go inward sometimes too, or shame or confusion or what have
Hmm.
you. But
Right.
um you're just a really incredible example, because, and not to make you a token example, but to say, a lot of people might not have been able to shoulder all of that abuse and ostrac, being
Don't
left
get me
out.
wrong. It took me a while into like at the time, like my child mother did strike me of my womanhood at the time because I felt like, oh, because at the time I was early in my transitioning. I was like, okay, well, being a parent, let me play with her rules or whatever case may be. So I started dressing down like a little stud. And
Trying to
then,
just like
but
keep the
then
peace.
as I got older, I was still being unhappy because, in that sense, it's like me
You
being
felt
in the
trapped.
ballroom culture. On top of that, the ballroom with the bogan and stuff like that. I'm also in that culture
Hmm.
as well. A lot of people looked at it all, but really never knew my story. What was the purpose behind that? You know what I'm saying? I never started my transition feminine masculine. I've always started it feminine wise. I mean, of course, masculine and feminine are nothing but energy to me anyway. So,
Yeah.
everybody has it. Even like for example, like a format of masculinity is arguing with your spouse. A lot of people don't
Mm.
know that. You know what I'm saying?
Left side
So,
of the brain.
but
Yeah.
that's you know,
Yeah. No
but
story.
yeah, I just felt bad, congratulated, and I was like, I was still being that individual for my child's mother what she really needed still because I felt like it was a jealous situation. Like because you know how us girls
Mm.
sometimes like, oh girl, she a little bit too cute. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me get
Mm.
Well,
and it
right.
started
It
becoming
was
a
almost like
constant.
somehow you're taking from her
You're out.
identity as mom because you want to be mom and she wants to be the mom. Is that what you mean?
That's what it felt like, honestly speaking. That's what it really felt like. But in a sense, it's like I know that you're her biological mother. I just wanted to let my daughter know, hey, she has two moms. That's it. But so
Did
long.
your did your baby mother know that you felt this way?
You know what's crazy? My baby mother is trans attracted. That's the funny part.
So then she probably picked it up and felt that way. But then
No,
when it
what
got
it
to the end of
was,
the
she didn't know that I wanted to be one. But in this, that's the issue. She was trans attracted. We were both trans attracted, but she didn't know that I was one of them. You get what
Well,
I'm
because
saying?
it's
Like,
one thing. It's one thing when you're. Listen, can I say something like we can always cut it out, I guess, if it's too much. It's
shit.
one thing.
people need to
It's
know,
one thing to be like in your private life.
right?
It's another thing to be going to the doctor when you're pregnant and being like, "This is my wife," or "This is my baby daddy." You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
or you know what I mean? Like, so it's one thing for her to be like openly out and celebrating you as a woman, or and the and at a time when like her own hormones, she's making a baby, like she's feeling very right. So like it was almost like you said, it was too much. Like this is her, like it was like it confused her own identity of self,
Right. I
perhaps.
mean, for her
And
being
then the
her,
idea of what the society will want, because you said there's other children, there's teasing about who you need to be as the parent, the other parent, like
Right.
for whatever reason, all of a sudden then they got conservative, right?
Parenting is parenting. It doesn't matter whether if it's
It's like,
a man, a woman, or in between, as people call it, or whatever. Parenting is parenting. Like I'm from the old school. Like it takes a village to raise kids. Honestly speaking, like
Ashe, that's true.
even when my mom and them was at work, like my neighbors made sure where I was good. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Or my uncle, or my grandmother, or my auntie, or my cousins and stuff like that. It's more to that. It's like a lot of I feel like parenting it shouldn't be so labeled masculine and feminine roles because in that sense parenting and teaching you can learn that from anybody because
yeah,
in a sense teaching it helps give people the value of life in general. That's what teaching to me
yeah,
is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's another anime
Yeah.
quote.
yeah,
So
yeah.
teaching is supposed to help you grow, which is breaking old ways. Just
And
growing
or
out
installing
the
new
old
ones.
ways, you know what I'm saying? Breaking generation curses and stuff like that.
Oh,
Just
Tanisha, you
sticking.
heard that? Breaking generation
Yeah, because
curses.
I when he was telling me how his daughter was getting attacked, it almost felt like a generational thing that's gonna,
But
if
that's
you
what
don't nip
happens
it in
when
the
you
bud,
make my personal opinion. This is what happens when you mix religion into parenting
so,
instead of
yeah,
allowing people just be them. Think with their
yeah,
own mind because in that sense it's like religions are supposed to be a set ground rules or their common sense, but in life I look as life as common sense. If it walk like a duck, it's a duck. You know what I'm
so
saying? So that's why
you
I
don't
had
have
to
a
learn life
spiritual
as that.
system.
But but religious structure is format to people
Well,
of
yeah, I
things
think
that
you
come,
mean
you know
like
what I
sort
mean?
of like the organized religion that has certain strict
Mm,
codes
But
that say
yeah,
this makes
and
a
that's
person
their
good, this
format of common sense. So when you're more if you base your life more on religious practice of how you move in society, cool. That's your format of way of common sense. But
mhm.
me, common sense is just common sense of the whole universe. You get what I'm saying? So
That's what I want to know. What does that look like for you? Your spiritual system? Is it a universe? You believe in God,
I'm
Buddha? Do you believe
spiritual.
that God is
I don't. I'm
within?
not religious. I'm not a Christian, and
Spiritual,
I'm spiritual. I
right?
don't play with the magic, as people call it. What's a
You
witch,
play with
as people call it. But but
okay.
spiritual is always been here way before other religions. It's what where you come from the earth. So it's not just
It's your birthright.
exactly. This is with the heavens and the
so
stars and the group. But I just feel like being spiritual is so more freely because in this sense it's like I'm being one within where I'm from, where I came from, and then being myself on top of that. So in a sense I have more freedom of with the free will. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Than having these set rules because a lot of people don't know Christians have set rules that's similar to
yeah,
Muslims. A lot of people don't know that.
yeah. It's kind
But
of like you know.
that's what
I was wondering, since it's sort of as an offshoot of religion and support, and what we talked a little bit before we recorded about. So I've talked a lot about your strengths, but a lot about a little bit about the struggle. I
yeah.
was
Mm,
wondering if you could go into the struggle a little bit, because this is a platform for mental health and
Yeah.
support, and talk about it, whether it's about you or friends that you've made along the way, in terms of whether it's just being an artist or being trans or being a trans artist or being a parent or being a human being trying to live in this crazy world. So it doesn't matter to me, the
Well,
what, much as, if there's anything you can share about the struggle and how you work through it.
I don't know. Maybe 4 years ago, I'm also a suicide survivor. Myself. Um, as my career was going up, I finally got my name changed. I was excited. Um, But on the downside, being a public figure, a lot of people don't know that we're regular people at the end of the day. So we go through lives, from the misgendering to the ballroom. I was getting from both sides. I
Wow.
was getting misgendered from both sides, from
Wow.
my own community and to regular society. So it hit twice as hard than you think. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? A
'cause
Aw.
lot of
so you
people
had
thought I
no
was.
you
Yeah.
had
You know what's
no
crazy? A
place.
lot of people thought I was a trans man.
Wow. And that
And they
pissed you
thought I
off.
was I was this at birth slash cisgender woman trying to be a trans man or whatever. I was like, no, baby, I'm the other way. They was like, wait, I'm confused. But this is what
Yes.
happens when the average people follow the heterosexual normative, because in the trans society, a lot of them follow the heteronormative society of things, but yet still do the same things what they hate about.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
basically, main long story short was my mom was the last straw because I just wanted, and mind you, the day when I went in, I had talked to my caseworker. I just wanted to talk to somebody, but she had asked me, the protocol questions. I told her yes, and I had a showcase for the LGBT youth. Shout out to Asian Ma for that. Um, they were supposed to give me an award, whatever, and I was just wanted to talk to somebody, so I stayed there maybe for like a week. Um, because my mother, it was a last strong. It's like I did all this, my name changed. You still feel like it was either a cry for help or a phase, and it was just no. And after when I got out
Yeah.
of the suicide hospital situation, I cut my mother off that time. She kept
Mm.
texting me and stuff like that, and I told her, I said, I love you, I get it, but I'm grown now. I said, these are my choices, this is my life. You don't have to keep babying me. All I asked you was to respect my name or respect me. If you don't feel comfortable calling me she, just say my name. That's it. Just say
Right.
my preferred name. That's
Right.
at legally. Like I was fighting with her, like literally, not physically fighting,
Right.
fighting,
I
fighting,
know.
um,
Yeah,
but
but it's your mom, like,
and that's the
that
thing.
is
It's
the
like as
that's
me
the
being an
main,
adult,
yeah.
me being an adult, it's like, yeah, granted, my mom taught me right from wrong, but you also told me you're supposed to love somebody no matter what. And that's the thing. And two, my mental health is way more important than my parents. Because at the end of the day, because I really broke it down to when I say I did a spiritual growth, when I say this being spiritual really breaks down generation curses, honor thy mother and
Ashay.
stuff like that. But at the same time,
Ashay.
respect is given. You get what I'm saying? And it's like after I told my mom, I told her how I truly felt from the reason why that I was acting. I was like, it's no disrespect to you, but you was taught go to work, put clothes on the back. It takes more to raise children. You have to spend time with your children. That's what was missing with in my life. Because all we
Mm.
did was do homework. You took me to the babysitter. We went to Walmart. You didn't even ask me like the simple things. Kids like simple things like, hey, how's your day? You just went on and just went to say, oh, go to homework, do this, do that, and this, that, and the third.
No true
And that's what I meant to
interaction.
yeah, interaction. Children need interaction. It's not just, oh,
Well, and to feel
I
like you
fed
matter
you, I
to
clothed
to
you, this, that.
purpose.
You know how the old school way is. But in this sense, it's like kids just want to be kids. Kids want to spend time with people who they genuinely love, truly love. If your kid loves you like that, or love their parents regardless, that was the void in mine. That's why I was
Mm.
a rebel kid. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
Yeah.
to be
two,
seen and accepted.
feeling that my stepfather was treating me differently because I wasn't his at birth. So that was another issue too.
Or you wasn't acting masculine enough for him. That used to
No, it
happen with my
wasn't
son.
that. I
Well, no,
always
because
felt
he
no
was
in the
not
back of my mind, I wasn't his at birth. You get what I'm saying? I wasn't
Mm.
his biological
the
child.
genuine
He
And
would have
a
loved you
lot of
different.
men,
felt.
a lot of
Yeah.
men who have stepchildren, they tend to even though it's like, okay, I'm gonna do it for my wife, but still, he didn't really spend time with me. Only
You
time we
felt the
really
different. You
spent
felt
time,
the difference.
the only risk to really we spent time was watching sports, cooking, or at the barbershop. That's nothing. If you wanted me to be at this masculine role figure, you could at least ask me, hey, was hey how your day was, or hey how school, or you never taught me how to fight, you never taught me what a values of what a man that you see in your eyes was, but that's how the military man is in general. And then on top of that, he had a drinking problem and I didn't like that. And I was because my mom was majority of who raised me,
Yeah.
or the babysitters, the female babysitters. He was 6 months on being a Navy person. I mean, he did his best. I don't see nothing wrong, and he still misgenders me, but it is what it is. You know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. They all old school people always say, "I whatever your decision is, I still love you." Then if you authentically still love me, you're not even trying.
All right.
So in a
Is this
sense,
what it
it's
looks
like I
like?
still have arguments with my mother about my stepfather. He was like, "Yeah, that's still my father. I get it, but in that sense, it's like, Mom, why is it? It's okay. Why is it feminine energy in general? It has a more supplemental. I just with not saying all men, but I just wish that anything who plays a masculine role also sort of get in touch with their feminine side, because that lets you know that you
Yeah.
have feelings, you care about individuals. It doesn't make you messy less of a man.
Right.
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 You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
that's what we're trying to help do too. And
Agree.
you don't even need to call it feminine and masculine. We're just saying, hey, how about being human means
That
having a
part,
little empathy for
basically,
everyone else, right?
right. But
Like be
and
seen.
I feel like what it is for me playing what from being an individual who was on both the spectrum at one point, it's a pride thing. Because since the day of time, if you really paid attention to the story, it was all this macho pride freaking stories in the Bible and other religious things. Like men wear
Very
pride on
misogynistic.
his sleeve. A lot of them, majority of them. Not saying all, but majority of them. And it's the egotistic because it's the colonization of how what they wanted a man to be in society, and that's the problem what we have,
Yeah.
what a lot of men face, because it's the book. This it's like
Yeah.
the scripture. You get what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's so much hidden. Just now I was just reading Isaiah 24,
Hmm.
and we're stating this in it's always been like that. It's nothing new under the sun. It's always been like that. But people are scared of things that they don't understand. So imagine
Yeah,
a
it's
person that
comfortability.
they, what I'm saying, they don't
Comfortability.
under.
I get it.
Yeah, so they already tried to like program us with religion and books and school
Keep
system
in
and everything
mind
like that.
to grow in life in general, you have to get out of comfortability. You
Yeah,
have to get
yeah.
out of
You
comfortability.
have to, yeah, you're gonna have to unlearn, especially like right now in society right now, people have to really unlearn and relearn what it is to love and what's a human being and what's okay and what's not okay, because we have been programmed to think that this is okay. But now it's like a spirit of confusion all over the place, because you're telling us this is not okay, but now you're telling us that this is okay now. And so you don't even know what's okay and what's not okay, because is it a mental sickness, or do you have the mental sickness because you don't understand that I feel like I'm a woman, but I know it's externally it's meant, but I feel like I'm a woman. Like, why don't you understand that? Why am I crazy and you're not crazy for not understanding that?
But the thing is like this. For example, it's like, okay, it's crazy. Anything, because you have to keep in mind anything feminine since
Hmm.
the time of Earth. Let's be real. women has always been downplayed in history from society because they said this country was built on man hands. But at the end of the day, that man hand, that woman was feeding your tail when you was hungry and this, that, and there, make sure them babies was good. Okay? Because without a strong foundation, it would be no man.
Mhm.
The woman is the foundation. They keep the household apart because we care, we nature, we nurture, and stuff like that. We're the reason it says Mother Nature. We're natural nature.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And I
saying?
think that's really the Western world though. That that place men at a higher, I forgot, I have a brain fog, but like it's the Western world that does that, because in other societies and other cultures, not just in the Western world, the matriarchy is is more powerful. Like the woman does, she gets praised, and it's only, when you, because you're American, and you're probably not familiar with like deep African cultures, or
I know what the deep
like
African culture does,
and they
especially.
worship females. Like females are hair, and the
Uh-huh.
because we breathe life in. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So when I come here, like I have to unlearn and relearn, and like, so you don't know what's right, what's wrong anymore. You just have to just kind of like
But I feel
get
like
in
what's
with your
right and what's
clan.
wrong is what you see fit in society, which
Right.
is
Yeah, like
that's what people.
cruelty, being sadistic, being manipulative, being predatory, that should be wrong no
Yeah.
matter who you
Of
are.
course, of
And
course.
those are the kinds of things, right? All of us make mistakes. All of us have been the asshole. All of us have maybe stepped in something, but we're all, the people who show up and say, I want to learn, I want to help, I want to support, I want to be a part of this. That's all we have. And I think even us three being on a call right now is a really cool example of how no one would probably put the three of us together.
Yeah,
And
because it's like, oh,
that's a
they're
cool.
dangerous. Get them away.
But with that, I want to say, can we see if, so first of all, because we're running over time, and
Mm.
there's so many things we can talk about. So maybe with your permission, we can even try to do another chat, maybe
Yeah,
6 months at
sure,
a
I'm
time, and check
down.
in and like see what's new. And maybe have some different stuff to share. We can always do, Ryan, our producer, does an amazing job when he puts the episodes together, doing a little bit of background on the special guest, and sharing some of the work. So I have a feeling there'll be new stuff to share. I was wondering if, before we go out, you could say, I don't want to dwell on the negative, but the fact that, you know even with all the strength and the ability to maneuver so many difficult situations, you too had struggle and doubt, and had a dark place where you were thinking it was better for you not to be here. And so I just want to say also, I'm so
Mm.
glad you're here. And to anyone listening,
Yes.
know that there is a national anonymous suicide prevention number. And, if you need to talk to somebody, to talk to somebody, and to say, if you could say a message right now, Genuine, to like anyone out there listening, whether they're trans or not, but whether they're struggling with, where do I fit? Do I belong here? What would you like to say to somebody based on your own, experience through those thoughts?
Um, well, for being in therapy for years, 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 even when I was an adolescent, I would say it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to cry. It's okay to shout. It's okay to scream. Um, it's okay to have a bad day in general because you're a human being. It's okay. A lot of people feel like, oh, you gotta be happy and bright all the time. That's impossible. Um, my advice to them is just use your resources, your outlets. Even if you don't feel safe with your parents or people that grown, use your friends because then your friends is the ones that you could relate to the most. Um, if you don't have friends, um, tap in with yourself. Um, your true potential. What I mean by that is meditate, take a journey about yourself, reflect yourself, take a walk. It find yourself, or navigate or start yourself. I understand people or your parents has always tell you, hey, this is wrong. Think for yourself. Because in a sense, they're just going off what their parents probably done taught them, what they're probably still dealing with their depressions and stuff like that. Like, keep in mind,
Projecting.
misery loves company, people.
Hmm.
So if it don't sit right, and you get that thinking mind, it's like, yeah, your face starts scrunching up. That's your intuition says no. That's that's not. So listen to your intuition. Definitely listen to your intuition.
To your intuition.
Yeah, to your
Ashe.
choice.
Ashe. Can you do you have any of this story like in a song
But
format? Like any of your struggles, and because I see that, like I listened to two of your songs and it was like,
when I was at my dark place with my
yeah,
poly relationship, my 8-way poly relationship, everybody feels like a witch.
girl, what you talking about?
Anyway,
Number 8, like polyamorous. We'll break
yes,
it down later. I know what
I
you're talking
gotta get
about.
into it. Wait a minute.
I wrote this song called Rockstar Heaven. This like
Where does
some
love end and where does it begin? It's hard to tell when there's 8. It's the infinity.
it was a disaster, and it fell through behind one person because of their insecurities. But
Well,
it's
that's
cool.
that's
But
that's a lot of things in
I'm
polyamory, right?
dating.
Because
I'm dating. I mean, I'm talking to a few, but I just need my attention. I just need three. That's good. I'm good.
just 3.
There's three.
Well, there's a lot of personality, so not everyone can handle one. I understand that.
That Gemini energy.
At least 2, 3, right. But like you said, it's difficult because you're very direct and solid and you have to be very comfortable in where you stand with a partner. And if there's 2 or 3 or more, everyone has to feel the same way about that. And not everyone, or some people think they are, but then
It
once they get into
depends. I
it.
mean, that's the thing. I had a hierarchy and a sneakery poly relationship. I don't want that no more. I'm sorry. So
No, I hear you.
I always
Um,
say there's always somebody out there to deal with your bullshit.
Well, we're gonna have at the when the episode is like edited together, Ryan always will have all your social media handles and everything. But if there's anything that you want anyone specifically to check out right now or anything like that,
Oh
now
yeah. Y'all make sure y'all run up that new video. Shout out to my sensei, Cookie Kawaii Jersey Club Queen herself is in the video. And make sure y'all go check that anime club banger.
Is that
Shout out to
wasabi?
everybody who's been supporting me, big or small, in my career. Um, just keep streaming. Stay
Is that
tuned.
wasabi?
No,
Is
baby,
that the
that's
wasabi
Waffle
song?
Batty. Waffle Batty
Wa-
talking to me nice. That's the new
Waffle
thing.
Batty?
Yes,
Okay.
Waffle Batty. That's the new song, honey.
I
Wow.
can't wait to go back.
Wasabi
Now,
was
now
last
me
year.
listening, now me listening to her, Natanya, is gonna be different now. Now, you know what I mean?
no,
Because
that's what happened. That's what this is so great. I'm so glad.
you're
Next
amazing.
thing offline, we have to figure out when we're gonna all be together. There's gonna be some dancing, ballroom, Tanisha. Wait,
I gotta teach you how to
Genuine, you gotta
twerk.
see, we gotta
I
all,
can do the
we gotta
ball.
all, we're gonna all share each other. I'll bring in
I'm
the.
crying.
There's a lot of incriminating videos already that exist. That I
Uh-huh.
think Ryan put some in our own B-roll,
I
Tanisha,
seen
that
you
I don't
twerk.
like. But um, but whatever. We're gonna just like let it go. If Genuine can do it, we can do it,
Right.
Period.
right? Um,
Period.
because
Yes.
no, because I read a quote that you talked about music and musical expression and being the truest, one of the most natural, fluid expressions. And I think in that way, we all actually look at us. We're all swaying the whole time when we talk. I think we
Mhm.
feel it. We feel the movement because it's a spinning rock we're on after all.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and music is a primal, primal way that we connect as human beings, as we communicate, as we share. So, and movement. So I think that would be really, really fun to get together and do that in person next time. And we'll drag Ryan along and our film
Yeah,
everyone
Ryan.
so we can
Yeah,
all the women
Ryan.
at the party, and you guys have to, film it and worry about that. I don't want to worry about that. Thank you so, so much for spending time with us today and sharing, your story. And this has been really, really a lot of fun. And
I
Tanisha,
appreciate it
thank
for
you
the
for joining.
opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was a pleasure. It really was a pleasure talking
Mhm.
to you. You're a beautiful soul, and
Thank
don't stop.
you.
And just, not like it's kind of weird maybe to say it. I don't know, but just thank you for choosing to stay. Thank you for being here, getting to meet so many people, inspire so many people of all different walks of life. And that's a lot of pressure, but just you honor, you wear that crown with pride and know that like you're getting more and more fans by the day, and fans in the best way, not, who just want to see you shine. And it's just such a wonderful thing that you're able to do. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
y'all. Oh, you quite welcome.
At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.